is Jason Belmonte.
We're back live. All right, cool. So I'll do one little test to make sure that I see myself on the computer here.
Hey, Belmo, do people like put in input or questions while this is going on?
Yeah, they do. We grab them, or I look at them along the way and pull them out and say something. But I'm just having an issue here. I don't see it live on my YouTube page. I don't know why. Well, I don't know. Can you see it on your end, Zach, like on my YouTube page or anything like that? All right. Well, that's really, really annoying. Sorry, Rob. Won't be a sec.
It's all right, bud. Technology sucks sometimes. Always.
Yeah, it's oh, that's why. No, we're good. It was on private, so no one was going to be able to see it. You can start it from the top again, Zach, and we're good.
My ambition is probably to be the best bowler in the world and be real rich.
All right, now we're good.
And he does it! Belmo does what he needed to do to give himself the best chance. There's a spare ball down the middle. Winner. Bowling fans, you have a repeat USBC Masters champion. His name is Jason Belmonte.
Super Slam! He's the greatest! He's the greatest!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another volume of the BELMO Show. Big show coming up, huge show coming up. We have good mate and special guest this week is the voice, or one of the voices of the PBA telecast, plus a wide variety of other shows on Fox, Rob Stone. Looking forward to getting into the settee with him. We also have coming up in the classroom, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about lane oil transitions and what to look for, how to adjust when your ball starts to do some tricks on the lane. And as usual, we're also going to give away a prize to a lucky viewer who is watching right now live on this episode of the BELMO Show. So I don't want to wait too much longer. I'm really excited. I love this next guest. He's been on many a call of the TV shows that I've been lucky enough to make for the PBA. Hearing his voice in the background always makes it a more enjoyable show. We'll bring him in right now. We have Mr. Rob Stone. How you going, mate?
What's going on, brother? When am I going to see you next, like live in person in the flesh on the hardwood?
Oh, that's a good question, mate. My government is telling everyone no one's allowed out. We're stuck here for a little bit longer. I know the PBA has some plans for some events, a little, not that far away, which is exciting. But in terms of my involvement, mate, I think the only way I'm for sure would be able to get there is if I somehow swam and landed on the beaches there in Los Angeles and kind of just snuck my way in. I don't think there's going to be any planes taking off anytime soon.
I would love to see you under the cloak of darkness on hands and knees, crawling through the soil to like get to some weird narcos underground airport with your bowling bags behind you and plug them on and everybody laying low and shots are fired at the plane and he's laying there, treasure. And next thing you know,
I'd have to probably ditch the bowling balls. I couldn't imagine getting away with that plan, carrying 6 bowling balls on my back and trying to commando crawl through the water and whatnot. Rob, I'm just so excited and so pumped to talk to you. I mean, I think a lot of the people that watch the PBA tour and have any history about the announcers in particular. Obviously, we have had some incredible announcers, but you've been calling bowling for a lot longer than what I think a lot of people may realize. I mean, it all started out on that other network, but I kind of want to know, like, how did you actually get involved in calling bowling from the get-go? Was this like just a very opportunistic kind of position that you put yourself into?
It was random. It was unexpected. It was unasked. At the time in my life, I was working at ESPN and I was covering college football, soccer, all kinds of other events, and college basketball too. And my wife was pregnant with twins and we already had a newborn. And a boss that I had never really had much interaction with said, "Hey, are you available? Can you come in? We want to talk to you about a great opportunity." And I was like, "Great opportunity. Yeah, sign me up. I'm all on board." And when somebody tells you, Belmo, like you got a great opportunity, no matter what your life is or your profession, you just start, you lose your mind, right? And I'm saying to myself, you know what? I am worthy of Monday Night Football. Doggone it, I am good enough and people like me. And I was ready for this massive promotion. And they sat me down and we talked and he said, "We want you to do bowling." And I just looked at the guy and I'm being honest here, Belmo. I turned around in my chair to see if he was talking to somebody behind me. And that's not belittling the sport. That was just where I was in life. And the concept of me doing bowling was nowhere on my radar. It was not on my timeline. It was not anything that I had planned. It was nothing I had brought up. They had come to me where they had decided that they had elected to make a change for some reason, and they wanted me to do it, and they needed an answer right away. And I'll be honest, I didn't say yes. I honestly, at that time in my life, Belmo, I just did not have the bandwidth, mentally, physically, family-wise, to add another component, much less that component being a sport that I had no background in.
Okay, so let me stop you right there, right? So you didn't say yes, and yet here you are calling the action. So at some point, right, you decided, you know what, I want to take this on. And just so you're aware, it's not really a slight on bowling per se. I think it honestly is a generic understanding of the sport of bowling. Most people's understanding of it, and then when they get involved in the game, I can't tell you how many people I talk to where the next topic of conversation is, yeah, I didn't know anything about bowling, didn't really want to get into it, but now that I'm in it, oh my God, I'm so happy to have been here.
Yeah. So, and honestly, I don't know if I ever did say yes. I guess I didn't say no with as much authority as I should have for them to say no. And they were like, great, off you go. And I had an indoctrination in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Winter Communications, which at that time was kind of the producing package for the PBA. And I had a crash class with Randy and some other people behind the scenes. Hey, it's not the one pin, it's the head pin. It's here's the order. It's all the terminology to make myself sound intelligent enough to pass by. Why they decided to make the change, no one ever really told me. What they saw in me or why they wanted me to do it, I don't know. So with that lack of understanding and knowledge, I kind of internalized it, Belmo, and I said to myself, okay, great. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability while doing my best to stay in my lane of who I am as a person. So, and I also made a pledge that I'm not going to stress out about it, which is really vital because it's actually made me better, not stressing out about it. There's so many things in life where if you spend so much time, Belmo, like I guess there's a gazillion competitors who are like, oh, here comes the USBC Masters, here comes the US Open. It's that extra prestigious events, and they put that extra pressure on them, and it tightens them up, and it takes away their freedom to be who they are. And I took off those shackles for bowling, and I said, I'm never going to get stressed out about it. I'm not going to worry about it. If I'm tired the night before the event, I'm going to bed. I'm not going to stay up till 2 a.m. to go over these final numbers and these little tidbits that I may or may not get in. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm going to do it the way I would present it, who I am, while still being respectful to the sport. So that's how I attacked it. Randy and I, the beauty is we clicked right away. I knew some of the people behind the scenes through my soccer work, so there was a comfort zone there. And, those first couple telecasts, I was more cognizant than I've ever been in my broadcasting career to only talk when I knew what the hell I was talking about. So, because some people, they get this overinflated ego and they're going to talk and talk and talk. I was a big layout guy at that point. Anything that I didn't feel was in my wheelhouse, I backed off, and I was totally at peace with it. Doing college football, I wouldn't have been at peace with it. I would have wanted to chime in and be more of this conversation, be more of an expert. I knew I wasn't an expert, and I let the expert, Randy, right next to me, handle it. And it triggered a good little early success rate. And I decided, well, let's keep going with it, and let's have some fun with it, because, myself, I think a lot of the guys who are of our generation right now knew that bowling.
We usually get an interruption here with my daughter. This is Sylvie. She can't hear you because my headphones are in. This is Princess Jasmine's uniform right here, her little outfit. Oh, and she has makeup on too today, Rob. So that's nice. A 4-year-old. I'm already losing my 4-year-old daughter. She's turning into my big girl.
And my 5-year-old.
Oh my goodness. Are you going now, are you?
Yeah, I'm going to see.
Okay. You have a good time at Sierra Renee's, and I'll see you over there a little bit later after I stop talking to this ugly man on TV, okay?
For a change, I'm not the one with makeup on. This is good.
Well, it's like uncanny. Every time before these shows, right, I always usually sit it down and say, hey, baby, just to let you know, Daddy's going to go live on the internet, and people are going to watch me. So if we can just be quiet and maybe not interrupt. And every day I do these things, there's always a moment. But I mean, it's so cute. How can I get mad when she's like dressed as Princess Jasmine, telling me she's going to my cousin's house to go and play? I can't get mad. I want to get back to this whole beginning, right? Because one of the things when I listened to you call the game, even in your first few telecasts, was obviously your connection with Randy was straight off the bat. It just seemed to work really well, and I know you guys are really close off the lane, so I know you guys are good mates, and that obviously helps. I think what has impressed me most, though, is the energy that you've brought to the game of bowling, right? So over the years, I think our announcers have always been, somewhat subdued in expression or in humor to a degree. I think it's always been more traditional in the sense. And when you came onto the scene, it was like we just got this injection of Rob. We just got this power through our veins that kind of went, hold on a second, bowling is meant to be fun. And here we have a guy in the booth who is making that. I mean, do you feel as a broadcaster, that is it always meant to be like that? Or do you feel like there are some sports that are required of you to be less entertaining and more just, hey, I'm here to call my job and call the action, and that's it?
It's a good one, and I get that type of question a lot when I'm talking with bowling people, and it goes back to my original kind of statement of how I was going to attack bowling, and I was going to be pure to who I am. I wasn't going to be fake. I wasn't going to try to be this authoritative voice. I was going to try and find my lane of where do I fit in. And in the end, sports is entertainment, and if you want to be enjoying spending your 2 hours watching bowling or whatever the time frame is or whatever it is you're watching, and if the people at the crowd, in the stadium, in the venue are not enjoying it and not enthusiastic, you're probably saying to yourself, well, why am I watching this? If the announcers aren't enjoying it and upbeat, then you're definitely saying, why should I? Why should I invest in this? So number one, my personality is pretty upbeat. I like to smile. I like to laugh. I like to be energetic. I'm a borderline salesman, even though I never really had a salesman type job. And so I just kind of, again, I said to myself, I'm going to be pure to who I am with bowling. And it just brought me this great freedom to do what I want to do. And I think there was also part of me that said, this is not golf, right? This golf clap stuff drives me bonkers. It's BS. And these are athletes out there that want, and again, I'm assuming, and now I feel like I know, that want that crowd interaction, that want that energy, that want that buzz. They don't want quiet and then the little clap and then quiet and little clap. If I had my way, that crowd is on top of you guys every week, and they are hooting and hollering, and they are chanting, and they are screaming. There's flags, there's banners, there's tifos. I want it like European soccer. I want it like darts in England. I want it like WWE. You guys deserve that type of energy and that atmosphere, and I think you guys would feed off of it perfectly. So,
well, Rob, I'm telling you right now, I think we're leaning more towards that type of atmosphere. In my first few shows on television, I didn't really know the ropes, right? I didn't know how I was supposed to react and whatever. But when you've got a guy in the booth, that's really where I think it sets the tone, right? Between you, Randy, and Kimberly, that connection, and you're the first voices that they hear when they come in to tune into the TV show. I think it sets the mood in-house as well, right? So when I started to listen to your playback and I started to watch shows over, or when I would listen to your intros and I could hear it, it immediately lights up the place, and all of a sudden now the entire venue starts to say, oh, well, if the announcers are having a lot of fun, and if they're really energetic, well, we in the crowd, and we the players, we also hear you and Randy going back and forth, the conversations with Kimberly here or there, and it's like, okay, we're supposed to have fun too. Like, everyone's having fun here, and now everyone's watching us. We should probably, at least create some entertainment from that perspective. So I don't want to give you too much credit here, but I almost feel like since your involvement, we, the players, and those that are in venue, kind of feed off the direction started by yourself and Randy. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Again, that's just who I am and what I believe in, and also what Randy, believes in. And we're there to have fun. We're there to entertain. And if we're bored, our viewers are going to be bored, and they're going to be clicking off. We're going to be out of jobs. You're going to be out of a job. We're not going to, be in this fight together. And there's some salesmanship to it. I know I kind of keep going back to that term, but like, the NFL doesn't have to sell themselves. College football in America doesn't have to sell themselves. Bowling does. Like, I get it. I know where bowling sits in the food chain. And one of the perks about about my job and the fact that I bounce around from other sports is I see how my bosses, how executives, how marketers, how other broadcasters view each and every sport, whether it's soccer or basketball or football or bowling. And there's more and less work to do with some of the different sports. So yeah, I consider myself kind of a salesman, if you will, of bowling. Like, hey, here's me. Here's why you need to watch. And this is fantastic. And we get excited about it. And another thing that's kind of curious about bowling in the broadcasting world, at least in my eyes, Belmo, is that for years and generations, sports broadcasters, at least here in America, are programmed to not cheer. Right, we're right down the middle. If we're talking Ohio State or Michigan, there's not a bias, right? But something about bowling, we become these fans. And
do you think that's because you have a direct line? And I'm now assuming, right? I don't know what your involvement is from a personal perspective. Like we before we go live, you'll come in, you'll give us all a hug, you'll shake our hand, you ask us about our families. We usually have some time where we are talking not as broadcaster and athlete, right, but as two normal guys. Does that happen for you in other sports?
To a degree, yeah, it does. But there's not this amount of close contact and personal conversations that we have. One of the beauties about bowling, and I hate to be that stigma, is we can go hang out at the bar before or after, the night before or whatever, and kind of catch up and be normal human beings and pop a beer and how the hell are you doing and what's going on and crack a joke and have some fun at somebody's expense. And it's this neat little brotherhood and I love it. And I'm totally attracted to it and in love with it. And it's, people always look at me like, what is it with you in bowling? I'm like, dude, come to my cult. It's fantastic. You're going to enjoy it. But again, we've been so programmed to be right down the middle and not be biased with our broadcasting and the stories that we tell. And in bowling, we're not. We do play it down the stretch. But when a story starts developing, Randy and I, and we think the audience, frankly, find themselves kind of pushing themselves towards this and wanting more from it. And there's a gazillion examples. My frenemy, Tom Doherty, when he had that horrible performance in Vegas. I think it was at the TOC. I can't remember what major it was. And he was just trying to break 100. We knew damn well what was going on. And we were 100% cheering for Tom to get to triple digits. The crowd was on it and felt it as well. And it became, poor Mika's going for 300 and nobody cared. It was like a side story. It was like the B plot of a bad rom-com. Everybody wanted to know what is going to happen with Tom going for this, trying to get to 100. He completely lost. So we are,
and we may never again utter the phrase, we just want him to get to triple digits. Like that may never be said again. So the moment itself had presented itself as maybe once in a lifetime. So I remember watching that. It was in Vegas, and I was at the home we had rented for the week, and we were watching it on the TV. And the first 4 or 5 frames are like, this is going to be a tough day for Tom, right? And then 6 or 7 frames in, we're like, I don't know whether to laugh or cry for the guy. And then the 9th frame comes, and there was myself, Bill O'Neill, Fagan, Tony Lacaze, TJ. We are hands on knees, hands on our faces, watching what was going to happen. And it wasn't until Mika stepped up, and I think it was Fagan who said, hey guys, are we going to stick around and watch Mika bowl 300? And we're like, oh shit, we forgot Mika's got the front 9. We're about to watch 2 forms of thing. But I agree with you, because I knew Tom, and obviously it's a really, really tough situation for him to be in. You start to root for the individual based on a connection you have with him personally. And I think we hear that when you and Randy are calling the matches. If it's a rough time for an individual, if it's a bad game, we can hear it. It's like, oh, come on, Belmo. Let's find a way to get to, find that double. Let's just try to keep it close. We hear it in your voices. And to me, I think that's a really cool thing. I never really hear announcers and broadcasters have that genuine pull for one guy. If it's a blowout between the Lakers and the Cavs, no announcer is like, oh, come on, LeBron, let's get a few more points for the Lakers while they're struggling this game. It's just they call the action, and bowling is just that real personal touch. It's why I think we have the best fans in bowling, because they love it.
It's unique and it's 100% natural. It's not forced. It was nothing that was written down by an executive advising us to do this type of thing. It's just what happens. And the audiences out there, no matter the sport, are smart enough, intelligent enough to realize that, hey, these people are reacting the way I'm reacting, and this is how I would do it. And that pulls people in and gives them that extra rooting interest. When Tommy Jones this season, that was another example where Randy and I were blatantly cheering for Tommy. Here he is. He gets inducted into the Hall of Fame that weekend, literally the night before. His mom has never seen him bowl on television before in person, and she's there, and he's going for 300. And hell yeah, we're cheering for him. I'm sorry to the opponent. We would be as respectful as we could be, but this is the story, and everybody in that building was cheering for Tommy that day. And it almost feels like if we didn't, we would have been out of line and completely in the wrong.
Everybody except Darren Tang, his mum and dad, and his brother. I think we're probably cheering for Tommy at that point. I mean, look, you're a successful guy, okay, and I fall into this category in terms of conversation where people don't know what it's taken to get to a point in your career where you have success, right? So we see 13 major championship titles. We see other titles, and there's this, I guess, assumption that, I wish it was as easy for me as it is for him. And your career through broadcasting, you have become on Fox one of the synonymous voices of that network. And people see that and are like, Rob's on another show, Rob's doing this, Rob's everywhere. But it wouldn't have always been that way. So I'm curious, when you decided to first get into broadcasting, did you have a mentor? Do you still have a mentor that, you're asking for advice that and I want this to kind of be tailored to the people listening who, are at the beginning of their journey in whatever it is they're doing. And they see someone who is at the end of it having the success and kind of feel a little deflated about, how do I get there? I don't think I can do it, or it's so easy for him and I feel like I'm ripping my hair out to do what I love and I can't do it. Did you have that someone, or it was a personal drive that you're like, I don't need anyone, I'm just going to make this happen?
In the end, it was probably more me than anything. I definitely had people I looked up to, definitely people that advised and guided me and gave me input. Look, from an early age, probably in high school, this is what I wanted to do. My dad was always very, goal oriented. So he passed that on to me and said, what do you want to do? When you get out of college, you're going to have to work for a living. You might as well do something you love. So at that point in my life, just a high school kid, I was like, I like sports. I like talking. Let's marry them. So that's why I just started pursuing this. My first TV job was behind the scenes at ESPN, and I was working on the Sports Center show, and it was a 6-month temporary job. And I was working 6 p.m. to the 3 a.m. shift. And I was living in the bedroom that I grew up with mom and dad, and that led to me able to get out of there and get in front of the camera doing local news in Albany, Georgia, because of an ESPN contact. Chris Myers, who's now at Fox Sports, was a big supporter of mine and gave me some guidance, but so did the ESPN legends, Chris Fowler and Dan Patrick, Bob Lee, so many, Mike Tirico, so many guys that I crossed paths with as I was just so stinking low, like under the ground totem pole, but trying to move up there. And they always were so kind to pass on a little notice, a little mention here and there, because they knew what I wanted to do. They knew I didn't want to be cutting highlights for the rest of my life. I wanted to be doing what they were doing. And to just get back to your point, I went from this ESPN kind of peon to getting a full-time job, but I was still a peon and still living at home, and got a big break in like one of the smallest markets in the country, Albany, Georgia, at a station that got run over by the competition. Every damn book that came out, we were clearly second-class citizens. And then I got a job in Tampa, Florida. But all three of those jobs, I hit a point, Belmo, where I said, this isn't what I want. and I can't keep living this life if there's not another step. So when I was at ESPN, when I was in Albany, when I was in Tampa, I hit a point in the 2.5 year window at all of them where I said, if something doesn't change soon, I'm pulling the ripcord and I'm going to go live a normal life. I'm going to go get in sales, frankly. I'm going to get in sales or advertising. I'm going to work 9 to 5. I'm going to have weekends off. I'm going to have a life. I'll have a wife and kids rather than this complete grind, getting off on Saturday nights at 3 in the morning or 11 p.m. and trying to cobble together some type of life. But each time I got to that breaking point, if you will, that break happens. That window was there for that next proverbial step, and the key is to be prepared for that step. When that opportunity arises, and a lot of it is luck and timing, but so much of it too is skill and being able to capitalize on it when it hits. I was in a position. I was very much a slow and steady type guy, Belmo, where a lot of people want that harsh trajectory, just shooting right up. I was kind of slowly grinding but rising, and it never put me out of my league. I was never out of my shoes or over my ski tips. I was able to manage what that next step was, and it was clear that I was ready for that next step. And when it approached and when it was given to me, I was able to capitalize on it. So I think so many people out there, no matter the profession, hit that, right, where they're like, I'm done with this. That's fine. Give yourself that deadline. Like, hey man, I'm only going to hit it for another couple months, and then I'm out. And there's something magical about that little time frame that motivates you to, and also gives you that clearer understanding of, is this something that I am invested in? Because there's a lot of people who are trapped in dead end type jobs or relationships that aren't working for them, but it's comfortable and it's easy. It's difficult to take that step out and push yourself to where you need to be.
I think there's always a very thin line between comfort and risk, and it's also a really scary line because if I take the risk, ultimately, if it works, I will find complete happiness. I will enjoy my life. I will enjoy my working life. And whenever I'm talking to somebody who you can just tell they hate their jobs, they hate the situation that they've found themselves in, but they're too afraid to take that risk and try the passion. I often say, but you're not happy now. Like, you're not happy. So if you're not happy, where's the risk? It's actually more riskful for your own well-being to stay in a dead-end job that you have no passion and desire. And to go back to what you're saying, you said that one of the things I really appreciated too is when you were first kind of introduced to bowling, you said, whatever this is, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to give it everything that I've got. And that's something that is really, really important because it's your brand. It's who you are. It's your personality. And if you don't want to do something and you do a half-assed job at something you don't want to do, people see that, and your personality can take a bit of a hit, because then maybe that person that's watching you give a half-assed job was thinking you might be the right guy for another job that could lead to another job, and yet he sees that, and you mentioned not to do that. But I will say, if you're doing bowling and you hated bowling and it was not a passion, or didn't grow into a passion of yours, and you started to give it your everything, it would be pretty difficult after 12, 15, 20 years to keep calling the game that you hate and still show that same type of passion. So,
people would hear it and they would see it and they would know it. And look, that there have been some people placed on bowling in the past who probably saw it as a step down, and this isn't what I wanted. And they can fake it as much as they want, but in the end, the product is hurt a little bit. Bowling is just so unique. I never thought that this would be something on my tombstone, if you will, and it is. It's clearly there, and the interesting part is that people are fascinated about it. They really want to discuss it with me all the time, and I feel this sense of loyalty to the sport and this sense of I'm actually kind of bizarrely making a difference in the growth of this sport, whether it's my conversations with Fox Sports and the people behind the scenes. A lot of times, like this year, for example, one of our kind of my boss that oversees bowling at Fox Sports also is a guy that I interact with heavily during college basketball season. And obviously those two seasons kind of overlap, and it's in our best interest to promote our products, right? So I knew that we had bowling in Omaha on a Sunday, right? Do you remember that? We had early in the season, and that Friday night we had a basketball game. I'm sorry, bowling was in Lincoln. That Friday night we had a college basketball game at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and Tommy Jones happened to send me a text like, "Hey, I'm going to the basketball game. Are you televising it?" I'm like, "I am. Where are you sitting?" So I'm getting a seat assignment, and I'm sending it to my buddy, who then sends it to the people at the TV truck who are covering the game. And now they're creating this bowling promo for, hey, Sunday, make sure, to watch the, whatever the I can't remember what that event was, the Lincoln Open or whatever. And the shot is Tommy Jones sitting there, and the guy talks about, I knew who was calling the game, so I could text him like, hey, there's Tommy Jones, just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, 300 game. So he's literally reading off his phone a couple nuggets about Tommy Jones. This may seem like a very minor thing, but a lot of people coming together to sell hard a product for 15 seconds that normally wouldn't have been sold. Look, we get baseball promos or NASCAR promos all the time. It's literally a card, and it's like, read this. And we try to soften it and cater it or add our own feel to it. But with bowling, look, let's be honest, the majority of the announcers out there have no idea what they're talking about. But a lot of them know me, and they know I'm doing bowling. So they will come at me with bowling. Like our top basketball announcers, Gus Johnson, Bill Raftery, who I love and adore, and I do so much with them, they know I do bowling. So when a bowling promo comes up, they inherently sell it harder than they would have. And odds are they'll come back and like take a pot shot at me or like rave about Stoner does great stuff, another ham bone or whatever. Look, that's not here to please and fill my ego. It's there to sell the product. And because of these connections and these friendships that we have, we're doing more than the sport would probably get and do on its own.
Well, and I don't want you to have an inflated ego any further than you don't really have an ego, which is bizarre. You may think you do, but for the ego that you probably should have, it's far less than what it should be. But I've had many a conversation about your involvement, your position at Fox, why we're on Fox, and the influence that you have on these other announcers, on pulling the strings, right, to make a promo like that happen. We are undoubtedly grateful to your involvement in the sport. But I think the one thing that I want to touch on is you were saying about the growth of the game, and here is kind of the caveat to it all, right? Is I believe you have made a significant influence on a sport when you say something that gets trademark coined, carried forward, right? And we have Hambone, which at the time I'm like, what is he talking? What is this Hambone? I don't get it, right? I don't understand it. And then you said it again the week after, and then you said it again the week after that when there was a 4 in a row. And then all of a sudden now we have random fans who make T-shirts and signs. And to me, forget about the actual phrasing, Hambone. It could have been anything. My thing that I take away from that, and what I use as an example when I talk to people about you, is I say, here is a guy who said a word that had absolutely no reference to the sport of bowling at all. There's no history. There is absolutely nothing. And now it's become common language. People say that. And to me, that's a testament to the love that the fans of bowling have for you. We, the players, we now joke about it, even in the qualifying rounds, right? When someone's like, hey, how did you go? And I'll actually say the phrase, I started with a double, then I spared, then I rolled a Hambone. It will go into conversation. So I kind of want to make you well aware that, to you it may be enjoyable, but it really has started something. And you did that. And that just, again, shows the influence that you have. I'm looking in the chat room here on YouTube right now, and a lot of the comments are like, Rob Stone, love it, Hambone, Rob's the best. There's just so much love for you within our game. And it's not I'm going to be honest here, right? You have a few of the traditionalists, okay, that are going to be like, I liked it back in the day when, when we had.
I get it and I respect it, and look, in our business, Belmo, you're not going to please everybody, right? And frankly, as long as my bosses are happy, I'm going to keep doing what I do. But I don't mean to be disrespectful. And I know in the beginning, with the birth of Hambone, there were some veterans, or maybe even just one, that really didn't care for it at all and wanted to see it wiped away, and probably would have been very happy if I wasn't still involved. And I was torn by that. In the end, as the story goes, I was going to stop saying it because the request came in from some people that I really respect in your profession. And I said, I never meant for it to belittle, to get in the way of these athletes. And if people are viewing it that way, then I'll stop. No problem.
Yeah, I think that's always difficult, and you probably would find this more than ever, is to gauge the level of what's accepted in terms of what are the fans loving and what are the fans hating. And as you probably are well aware, the loudest, the ones who get on their keyboards and type more than anyone else, are the ones who hate something. And they're the keyboard warriors. So it can be really difficult. And I'm glad now, if I was a proper journalist here, I would really hit on you on who these people were. But I'll leave their identities unknown, because I don't want it to be an awkward time for you and them at another time. But that does bring me to one of my final points. I have two more questions I want to talk to you about, and I forgive me for taking so much of your time already. But the first thing is as an fans love you. Yes, WWE fans love you. Yes, college sports fans love you, but there are people who don't. How have you handled the negative attention to being someone who, you're in the spotlight for a lot of the show. It's your voice that's constantly been heard in lounge rooms around the world. And when people don't like it, they're going to tell you they don't like it. So what have you done to help yourself deal with that?
There's two attacks. The number one way to deal with it is to not even look at it. Don't even seek it out. Don't find it. That's the best thing for your mental approach. Again, if you know you're doing a good job and your bosses tell you you're doing a good job, don't worry about all that noise out there, because that's really what it is. It's noise, and we love input, and we love people to express their opinions, and it's a free country, and I'm with you on that one. But in the end, sometimes I just don't care. I really. You don't like it? That's great, because I'm never going to please you no matter what. There's a gazillion people out there in the bowling world, for example, that no matter what I do, they're not going to like me, and that's fine.
But have you always been that way, Rob? Has it always been like you're a very confident guy?
When I was younger, how do you say that? When I was younger, kind of in this business, and the internet was just kind of happening, I would find some places and chase some stuff down, and I was like, oh, geez, that is harsh. Wow, I can't believe these people say this about me. They have no idea who I am. It really hurt my feelings, to be honest. And then I was like, you know what? I don't care, because a majority of these people are just probably bad humans, and they're going to be negative at no matter what. Like, dude who mows my lawn, he's going to rip. The postman did a horseshit job today because he didn't put the flag up all the way. Some people are just inherently negative, and I'm not going to let that drag me down. And the other thing is, in my DNA, I was gifted this bizarro, I just kind of don't give a shit sometimes. And I'm confident enough, without being egocentric, that I'm doing the right thing. My wife cracks up about it all the time, where she's like, you don't care if these people like you or not. I'm like, yeah, if they don't like me, they don't like me. And this is, people in my community or in the school or whatever. Look, we don't have to jive with everybody. Belmo, there's no way that we can make 100% of the viewing audience adore us. It's impossible. Would I love it? Hell yeah, it would be fantastic, but it's unachievable numbers. So in the end, do what's pure to you, do what ideally your crowd is enjoying. But most importantly, brother, I need that paycheck every 2 weeks. So if my bosses are happy with me, I keep doing what I'm doing.
I think that's a really good lesson. Like, I think the relationship between what you're saying and to what I did in my career is I tried to get 100% of the people to like me. And I didn't want to appear to be fake. I didn't want to come across as somebody who was trying overly hard to make that happen. I wanted it. I didn't like it when people had an issue with me for no reason. So I would go above and beyond to make that person or that group of fans to kind of come around. I would make the appearance when I shouldn't probably have because of the way that I was treated. And I think to me, the happiness, it didn't equal the right happiness. I made that person be like, oh, that was cool. And then a week later, it's the same guy who's writing the same stuff, and it would make me so sad. And I think that the not caring is vital. But the key is it's not I don't care, so I'm going to be mean and rude and I'm going to dismiss that person. It's just you can say whatever you want. It's just going in and then it's coming out. It's not going to affect me. And what I did was the inner circle of people who I really did care what they said, who I really did care what they thought of me, I would listen to them. Sure, sometimes Kimberly, pulls my head in and says, hey, just so you know, I think you handled that pretty abruptly. Like you weren't sensitive. You came across a bit rude. And then I listen to that feedback and then I try to make amends. But if, some guy on the internet writes, I think you're really mean and rude and I hate you and I want you to get hit by a bus, it's like, oh, okay. Like I'm just going to ignore that. I think that's something with social media, kids in particular aren't learning. No one's teaching that at school. No one's really teaching kids how to handle massive amount of personal trouble through comments, through videos, through voices that they shouldn't normally be hearing and they're now reading and listening to because of the access. So I think it's just a really good lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, look.
The other thing, real quick, the other thing that I've learned on that subject is kill them with kindness. Somebody will come at me with a harsh tweet or something, and I'll be like, and I'll be like, all right, it's coming at you. And I'm like, breathe, take it down, and you send like, hey, man, totally respect it. This is why I do this or, whatever. And they fire back at you immediately like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to be negative. I'm like, yeah. Yes, you didn't. But hey, and I know a gazillion people I've met, in bowling centers across America that don't like me, right? I get it. There's a ton, and I can tell. Or they'll be like, hey, Rob, hey, Hambone, and I will go out of my way, like you do so often, and hey, how are you? Welcome. Good to see you. Where are you from? And I can hear their tone. I can hear them change. Like,
Thanks.
All right, you know what? That one was on me. He's not a bad dude. He cares. Hey, man. Stick a ham bone. All right, no problem. They're probably still going to hear it, but got it. It's not for everybody. I'll talk to you later. And that usually works as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really great advice. Doing those two things will make you a happier individual. Okay, so let's ask these last questions, okay? And I don't want to ask this in a way like that you've probably heard 1,000 times. Like, oh, what was the best game you ever called, and what was the best bowling? But I kind of want to know what the event that you went to that was that surreal moment, that one where you're like, you know what, I watched this event as a kid growing up, and now here I am in the booth. And this moment right now is what it all comes down to for me. It's the holy grail. I mean, what event, what sport is that for you?
I'm fortunate that I've been able to cover a lot of sports, and I think that's something that's kept me in this business this long. Is I love the variety, and when I get kind of tired with one sport, I'm able to bounce to another one. So I think every sport that I've been able to do, I've been able to find that moment where I definitely do hit that pause button, and I'm like, all right, get out the 360 camera, Rob, and just lock this into your brain and remember you were here, right? Not only were you here, but the people you're there with, and it's your job. So every sport that I've been lucky enough to do, I've had that. If it's college basketball, it's going to Madison Square Garden and covering the Big East tournament, something I grew up watching, and being in the world's most famous arena was surreal. For college football, there's several, but that first Michigan-Ohio State game, the biggest rivalry in all of sports, perhaps. And I'm right there in the stadium, feeling it, hearing it, just absorbing everything that involves soccer, working the World Cups. I've been a lifelong soccer player and fan, and to just be in there and to be a voice talking about what is happening, whether it's in Canada or Russia or France. It's surreal. And a lot of times I would just, like last summer when I was in France for the Women's World Cup, I would spin my chair at the desk around and I'm like, take it in, dude, take it in, because the Eiffel Tower is right there behind you. And it's, you know, it's crazy. And then bowling has had a couple for me. You know, when I went away, you guys found Bayside Bowl in Portland, and everybody's Bayside, you got to go to Portland, you got to go to Portland. And it became this end all be all in the bowling world. And I know fans out there have sent me notes and have showed up at Bayside. Like, this is one of those, this is a destination road trip, right? This is a place I wanted to go and be and take it in. And so I was so excited last season to finally get the Bayside Bowl and see what this was all about. And for me, that was kind of one of a few examples out there where I would say to myself, this is home, right? These crazy lunatics were having their tailgates and are dressing up and are chanting, and this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I'm at home. You know, going to Reno for the first time at the stadium was an absolute trip. I hadn't been, you know, to the old home of the Firestone until recently, and you know, just walking through there and seeing the banner and it just getting that taste of history. You know, you're in a different place. You know, this means something different. This means something more. I've been incredibly fortunate that all the sports I've covered have given me not just one, but multiple wow type moments.
And it's just so special to hear that. I'm really happy for you. I mean, it's, you know, it's why we get up in the morning, is to have those moments in our lives that we can look back when the hair is a little grayer and, well, I mean, let me rephrase that. When you know, we're on our deathbed, okay, and we look back and we play the movie of our lives, you know, hearing that you've had those moments, I don't know, make me happy to hear that you're having these moments, and hopefully you continue to have them. Rob, I could honestly, I feel energized. I almost want to go for a run after this. That's how energized I feel right now talking to you. I really appreciate the time that you've given to me and the fans. Normally I go through a few of the questions and ask them. And honestly, today there's just been so many, we're not going to get around to them. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and grab a couple of those questions, maybe just drop them down in an email. I'll send them to you. If you get 5-10 minutes, maybe you can just reply to some of those questions. I'll make sure they're relatively quick and easy questions for you to reply, and then I can add them into the chat so we can, you know, answer those. But thank you very, very much for your time. I can't wait to see you.
Hold on, time out. I can't come back. This is a one and done. I can't come back and answer those questions. I mean,
Rob, let me talk to my producer.
Different beverages here during the course of this interview. I'm available, bro. I'm available.
Listen, I got to talk to my producer. I know your fees are quite high. You know, we saved up every penny we could for this interview. I'm not entirely sure we're going to be able to afford the space on the internet after this.
You can afford me, my man. Come on.
All right, how about this? I'll make a deal with you, all right? Next week, I actually want to talk to Randy. So I'm going to have a chat with Randy next week. I have Bill O'Neill that wants to come on the show. And believe me, let me tell you, that guy, he's busting my chops on my phone. You've had all of these guys on the show, and you haven't had me. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to you too. He actually made a pretty funny joke because I think he's done every single podcast, Facebook Live of everyone out there. It's one of the reasons why I can't lock him down. He's busy doing other shows. So he said to me, yours is going to be the last one, and then I'm just not doing anymore ever again. Like, that's it. I've tapped out my quota of live videos, which made me laugh. So when we get through those guys, how about I get you back? By then we should know more about what's happening with the PBA. I'll ask more direct questions from the chat, okay? And it'll give me some time to raise some capital to get you back on, which is really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah, you know how cheap I am. Come on, man. It doesn't take much to my love.
Rob, I love you, man, so much. It's so great to talk to you. Thanks for joining. We will have you back on the show. I'm telling you now, we will. Until then, say hi to your beautiful family for me. I know they're probably itching to get Dad back, so we'll let you go. Get to it. Oh, one thing. Next time I see you on the telecast, have the beard. Join me. Join me with the beard. I'm working so hard to get more and more guys out there grow some stubble, grow some beard, get some manly energy on there.
Like, this is all of quarantine, and this is the best I can do. So
Yeah, but it's the go. I'm telling you, the fans will just you look distinguished. Okay.
I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, but maybe it is.
All right, man. Peace. Have a good day.
You want to be good.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing guy. I feel like I say that about a lot of my guests. You know, I really do. I feel like I'm constantly I'm just very grateful that we have so many wonderful people in our industry. Rob is a breath of fresh air. I truly believe that his involvement in the game of bowling has just really, it's created a spark. And it's something that I think we always need. It's not a one-time spark and then that person moves on and thank you for what you did and now we're fine. I feel like Rob is the kind of guy that'll light one spark, that, you know, create a little fire, start another spark somewhere else, create another little fire there, and just, you know, over time, he's really helped engage new fans into the game of bowling. So honestly, Rob, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being who you are to our game. I'm just very grateful that I was able to have him on the show. Let's get into the next segment, which is the classroom, where I'm going to teach you guys how to learn to adjust to a manipulated oil pattern. So we're in the classroom. I want to obviously thank my friends at Storm for powering the classroom. It's their support of me and their love of the game of bowling that's allowing me to actually give you these tips. Well, I mean, they're not allowing me, but they're helping me. They're helping me to create this kind of platform. And today's tip is something that I get. Oh, I probably get this question about lane conditioning the most, right? When it's about oils and it's about lanes, it's how do I know when to adjust and how do I adjust? And unfortunately, there isn't really a one-size-fits-all formula that, you know, if your ball goes high, here's the formula, move this many boards and change your roll to this and bang, you will get a strike. It is very, very situational based, but I'm going to teach you guys and tell you guys a couple of tips, little tricks that will help you make better decisions. So the very first thing is the oil pattern that you're playing on is, if you have any information about that oil pattern, it's going to be very useful. So there are graphs now that allow the players to see a visual representation of what's on the lane on a piece of paper, and that will allow you to have an understanding. Okay, I see the oil pattern now, so I can understand it, and I can look at it. So my decisions based on what I see on a graph is going to help me. Now, every single bowling center that has any Kegel machine, Brunswick machine, I would say in the last 15 years, you know, a new machine in the last 15 years are going to have the opportunity to print this out for you. It would be as simple as asking the manager or the owner of the bowling center or even the head tech, hey, do you have the oil pattern that we're using tonight? Can I see it? And printing that off for you and having a look. Why that becomes super valuable is because, and we'll use a typical house shot as the example, is knowing the length of an oil pattern, knowing how much oil is on the lane is going to be critical in understanding, right, if I move, what's going to happen? Where will my ball go in terms of the oil pattern, or the oil on the lane? What path is it now taking if I move? Is there triple the amount of oil wherever I'm moving? Is there less than I thought? And that understanding is going to help you have a better idea on what's going to happen. So here is a perfect scenario, a very common scenario for most players. You feel like you're lined up in practice, you're ready to go, the ball's striking, and now it starts to overhook. And the bowling balls that are going down the lane have manipulated the oil, so it becomes quote unquote drier in that area and your ball starts to overhook. Many people decide, oh, I just need to move, right? I just need to move into a new part of the lane. However, they're moving into a part of the lane that now has more volume. So the ball will actually skid more, which is great. We want the ball to skid more. However, because there is a larger volume of oil of where you're moving to than where you just were, your ball speed may be now too fast. But you might not register that because you don't understand what's going to happen. So as your ball hits more volume, a larger volume of oil, and you're still throwing the ball with the same speed, your ball isn't going to hook like it did before. And now your ball is going to slide and slide and slide. And instead of, it's almost a overcorrection, an accidental overcorrection. Your ball goes high, now it goes light. So for me, anytime that I'm moving my legs and my feet kind of into if I'm right-handed, towards the left gutter. So it can be anywhere from the right side of the lane all the way to the left gutter. Anytime I'm making that progression left, I know that my ball is now creating more angle. It's creating more curve. It also means it's actually traveling a longer distance on the lane. Remembering our science teachers and our math teachers, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So the straighter that I'm throwing the ball, the less distance the ball is actually covering on the lane. As soon as you create that big hook, yes, it's still going in terms of distance, 60 feet to the pins, but now I'm creating curve. So it's actually going a further distance down the lane. Now, I'm not a mathematician, so I don't know exactly how much of a difference that is. But I do know that if I'm covering more bowling boards, more boards on the lane, I cannot throw the ball the same speed. So when you're moving and you're adjusting, be very aware that when you're looking at the oil graph, you're knowing you're moving into more oil, be very aware that now your path will change. The direction of your path will change. The amount of boards your ball will hook will change. So something else needs to change. Not just your starting position, not just your target, but also your speed. And then you can go one step further and also change your hand position to create even more curve when you've hit more oil. That's the first thing that I want you guys to be well aware. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there is another really important part of understanding adjustments on the lane, and that is knowing where other people have bowled. So if you're bowling, say, the 15th board, the third arrow, that's your target, you're feeling great, you're feeling confident, and you're striking, and all of a sudden, oops, the ball is now overhooking, and you think to yourself, well, I'm just going to move a couple of boards because it's hooking just a little bit, so I need to just move a couple of boards. However, there may have been 3 or 4 people on your pair that were bowling between the boards, third arrow and fourth arrow, between the 15th board and the 20th board. And their bowling balls are now going into that path and have been going through that path. So your adjustment thought is, oh, my ball is hooking a little bit. I need to move a couple of boards. Well, now all you're doing is moving into an area where multiple people have already played. So you have to be aware of where people have bowled, what your bowling ball is doing if you were to throw it the same way if you're moving, and putting that together to create your own algorithm. And I said at the very beginning of this classroom that there isn't a cookie cutter, one size fit all, but there are pieces to the algorithm that, depending on how you put them in, will spit out the right answer. So be aware of where people are bowling. Don't move into their own laydown, into their transition. Move away from them. And if you do, make sure you throw it a little differently. Otherwise, you're not going to get the result that you're looking for. That was the classroom for today. Let's head on over back to the giveaway. We're going to go give someone a prize. All right. Look, I don't want to waste too much of your time. It's been a long show already, and I know everyone loves to give them away. I just got in contact with the last 3 winners. Those prizes have been sent. Today, we'll do it again. I'll get in contact with you, and let's see if we can't give someone a cool prize today. All right, so in order for today's prize to be won, we've worked out how we can do this a little cleaner, a little smoother. And I want people in the chat to type in !raffle. And when you do that, you will immediately be put into the drawing to win the prize. It's as simple as that. No other bonuses, no other giveaways, no other gimmicks. It's just !raffle. It'll tell me that you're following the video along and that I know that you are listening to me. I would also appreciate a subscription. Subscribe to my YouTube page. It's not a requirement, but it would be great. So the 2-minute clock has started. We'll spin the prize wheel as well and see if we can't give someone a pair of BELMO socks, a autograph card, a BELMO hat, or a personalized video. Yeah, I mean, I love doing these shows, but it obviously helps me if I have a larger audience. So don't be afraid to subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe. Subscribe. Sorry, I'm kind of getting my mouth all twisted there. Okay, we have a personalized video, kind of like a shout out video. What that is similar to if you follow me or have ever asked for a cameo from me. That's just a 1 to 2 minute video where you tell me who you want the video to be. I personalize it. I send that video to you. You give it to your friend, or maybe it's for you. Maybe you want some motivation. Maybe you want a bowling tip. Maybe you want to impress your mate, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. And I'm happy to create that video and do it however you need me to do. So we'll get in contact with you. And in about 30 seconds, we're going to end the raffle. So get in there right now in the chat room, type in !raffle, get that raffle in, that entry in. And then what we will do, we're going to try this for the very first time live right now. We're going to find an entry and we're going to tell you who won. So we're not going to wait till the end of the show to do that. All right, the timer has stopped. The 2-minute giveaway has ended. And now we're going to calculate all of the raffle entries. And what we're going to do is find somebody and give that prize to them. While we do that, what I'm going to do is I'll head back to the main screen and say my thank you. The show has been going on for over an hour. Guys, I really appreciate you giving me your time. You have no idea what it means to me, knowing that I have fans like you that are prepared to listen to me blab on for an hour. It is extremely heartfelt. I really am thankful. There are other people that I'd like to thank as well, though, and that are my sponsors. Stream Inspectors are a great company that I've just started working for that are running these live streams. If you're interested, hit them up at streaminspectors.com. Storm Bowling, the company that has supported me my entire career, basically my entire career. www.stormbowling.com to look at their latest and greatest equipment. Vice Grips. Wouldn't want to put my fingers in anything else. I'll tell you right now, when I bowl as much as I do, you want the most comfortable, most reliable fit, and Vice give that to me. Dexter Bowling have been the shoes that I've been rolling down bowling balls with for nearly 20 years, I think. It's they're the best shoe company in the world, dexterbowling.com. And if you go to my website, www.jasonbelmonte.com, you like what you see, my friends at Cloud Construct were the guys there who helped develop my website. So check them out as well. Well, guys, that's almost it. I'm getting Zach, who is in my ear right now, who is looking to find an entry. I think this is it's going to be a little harder than we thought to do this live. So what we're going to do is we will find someone, And when we do, you will be contacted just like the other three have. And I guess I will record it this time because I think people want to know for sure. Like, did an entry get picked? Did you send the prize? So I think I'm going to have to scroll through the comments. I'll record it separately, making sure you're well aware of the fact that I'm actually doing it, and then getting into contact with that person. So that'll come really, really soon. Again, I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Until the next episode of the BELMO Show, be good. Peace.